The tragic story of American Airlines Flight 1420-199. A deadly storm and a rushed landing. A routine flight turns into a nightmare. On June 1, 1999, American Airlines Flight 142, a McDonnell Douglas MD-82, departed from Dallas/Fort Worth International Airport, DFW, in Texas, bound for Little Rock National Airport, now Bill and Hillary Clinton National Airport, in Arkansas. What was supposed to be a routine domestic flight turned into a horrifying tragedy due to severe weather, rushed decision-making, and critical pilot errors. On board were 139 passengers and 6 crew members, led by Captain Richard Bushman, a highly experienced pilot with over 10,000 flight hours, and First Officer Michael Oragel, who had over 4,000 flight hours. The flight was delayed for nearly 2 hours due to scheduling issues and weather air traffic congestion. This delay created pressure on the crew, as they were nearing their legally allowed duty time limit. As Flight 1420 finally took off from Dallas at 10:40 p.m., a powerful storm system was rapidly intensifying over Little Rock, setting the stage for a disastrous landing attempt. The approaching storm, a desperate race against time. By the time Flight 1420 was en route to Little Rock, the weather had deteriorated drastically. The National Weather Service, NWS, had issued severe thunderstorm warnings, with reports of lightning, heavy rain, strong winds, and poor visibility. The pilots were fully aware of the worsening weather conditions but were also under pressure to land before they ran out of duty hours. At 11:39 p.m. as they approached Little Rock, Air Traffic Control (ATC) advised them of winds at 330 dg at 28 knots, 32 mph, gusting to 44 knots, 51 mph, with heavy rain and lightning in the area. These winds exceeded the airline's safety limits for landing on runway 4R. However, the pilots were determined to land rather than divert to another airport. As the storm intensified, visibility dropped and crosswinds became dangerously unpredictable. ATC initially offered the pilots runway 22L, which had a more favorable wind alignment, but Captain Bushman insisted on landing on runway 4R, the originally planned runway. This decision would prove fatal. The critical moments before landing, as Flight 1420 descended through severe turbulence, the aircraft's wind shear warning system activated, signaling dangerous and unpredictable winds. The pilots continued their approach, struggling to maintain stability amid the fierce storm. At 11:50 p.m., just seconds before touchdown, the aircraft was hit by a strong crosswind gust, pushing it slightly off course. The pilots attempted to correct the alignment, but in the chaos of the landing, they forgot to deploy the ground spoilers, an essential system that helps slow the aircraft down after touchdown. The fatal landing, a disaster, unfolds. Flight 1420 touchdown on runway 4R at 11:50 p.m., but the landing was unstable and fast due to the wet runway and strong winds. Instead of decelerating properly, the aircraft hydroplaned on the rain-soaked surface, significantly reducing the effectiveness of the brakes. With no spoilers deployed, the aircraft's weight remained on the wings instead of transferring to the wheels, making braking almost useless. The pilots desperately tried to slow the aircraft, but reverse thrust and braking alone were not enough to stop it in time. Within seconds, Flight 1420 skidded off the end of the runway, crashing through a chain-link fence, careening down an embankment, and finally colliding with a metal walkway near the Arkansas River. The left wing broke off, and a post-crash fire erupted, sending flames and thick smoke billowing into the night sky. Passengers were thrown forward on impact, and the cabin was filled with chaos, screams, and the smell of burning materials. The aftermath. Chaos, fire, and survival. Emergency responders rushed to the scene within minutes, battling fire and wreckage to reach survivors. Many passengers were able to evacuate, but 11 people tragically lost their lives, including Captain Bushman. First Officer Oragel, though seriously injured, survived the crash. Many other passengers suffered injuries ranging from minor cuts to life-threatening trauma. Despite the chaos, 89 people managed to escape with no serious injuries. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, launched an extensive investigation into the crash. The investigation, What Went Wrong? The NTSB concluded that several factors contributed to the accident, including pilot fatigue. The crew had been awake for over 14 hours, impairing their judgment and reaction times. And severe weather. The thunderstorm created dangerous wind gusts and low visibility, making a safe landing difficult. Rushed decision-making. The pilots were under time pressure to land before reaching their duty limits, leading them to ignore the safer option of diverting. Failure to deploy spoilers. The ground spoilers were never deployed, significantly reducing braking efficiency and contributing to the runway overrun. Lessons learned. Aviation safety reforms. The crash of American Airlines Flight 1420 led to significant changes in aviation procedures, including stricter weather landing criteria. Airlines reinforced wind and thunderstorm safety protocols. Enhanced runway safety measures. Airports improved runway overrun zones and introduced better weather monitoring systems. The tragedy remains a cautionary tale of the dangers of landing in severe weather and the critical importance of following safety procedures. The deadly impact of pilot fatigue and procedural oversights. Fatigue and procedural oversights are among the most dangerous threats in aviation, affecting decision-making, reaction times, and situational awareness. The crash of American Airlines Flight 1420 and 1999 tragically illustrates how exhausted pilots and overlooked safety protocols can turn a routine landing into a catastrophic disaster. Pilot fatigue, a silent killer in the cockpit. Fatigue is an invisible but deadly threat that can impair a pilot's ability to process information, recognize hazards, and react appropriately. On the night of the crash, Captain Richard Bushman and First Officer Michael Oragel had already been on duty for over 13 hours, pushing the limits of their endurance. Effects of pilot fatigue on Flight 1420. Slowed reaction time. The crew had delayed responses to critical warnings from air traffic control and onboard systems. Reduced decision-making ability. Instead of delaying landing or diverting, the pilots rushed the approach, ignoring multiple warning signs. Overlooking crucial procedures. In the chaos, the flight spoilers were not deployed, significantly reducing braking effectiveness. Studies have shown that severe fatigue can impair performance as much as alcohol intoxication, making it a major factor in aviation accidents. Procedural oversights that sealed the fate of Flight 1420. In addition to fatigue, several critical procedural errors contributed to the crash. Ignoring weather warnings, the crew was aware of severe thunderstorms but continued with the landing attempt. ATC reported wind gusts up to 51 mph, exceeding safe landing limits. Failure to deploy flight spoilers. The spoilers help slow the aircraft after touchdown by increasing drag. Without them, the aircraft hydroplaned, making braking ineffective. Investigators found that neither pilot verified their deployment, a crucial checklist step. Late decision to land. The pilots hesitated, causing the aircraft to land further down the runway than intended. This reduced the available stopping distance, making an overrun almost inevitable. Crew communication breakdown. Effective crew resource management, CRM, was missing in the cockpit. First Officer Oragel, despite expressing concerns, did not challenge the captain's decision forcefully enough. The deadly outcome due to these combined failures. Flight 1212 landed too fast on a wet runway. Hydroplaned and lost control, overran the runway, crashing into a walkway, resulted in 11 fatalities, including Captain Bushman.